According to General Hospital teasers, Curtis Ashford will likely put his longtime buddy, Nina Reeves, under the bus by revealing her affair with Drew Kane to Willow Tate. GH fans could see the wheels spinning in Curtis' head during the week of July 14th to 18th, when he discussed bringing Drew down and his affair with Nina came up. Drew has been testing Curtis to the limit by blackmailing his wife, Portia Robinson. Unfortunately, because of Drew's influence over Portia, he has been able to coerce the couple into doing some really questionable things without their will, including a recent hit piece in Aurora Media on Sonny Corinthos. Drew now wants Portia to set Michael Corinthos up by manipulating his medical records to make it appear that he is addicted to opioids. Drew is determined to ensure that he and Willow get full custody of Wiley Corinthos and Amelia Corinthos, and he is willing to go to any length to do it. Portia clearly does not want to be involved in the scam, but what other options does she have at this point? She considered giving up her medical license to protect both Wiley and Amelia, but Curtis had a better plan. Drew and Willow will say "I do" this week, but as fans know, weddings in Port Charles rarely go as planned. The General Hospital preview for the week of July 21st to 25th provides an intriguing look into some explosive moments, with a few scenes implying Curtis may push the button on giving Willow the truth. During the teaser, a scene shows him and Portia in her hospital office, where Curtis swears to try to save her, even if it means abandoning a friendship. Fans are aware that Nina and Curtis have a long history, and have remained close despite many ups and downs over the years. So the fact that he is willing to put Nina under the bus to save Portia is significant, especially since he understands how important Nina's relationship with Willow is to her, as well as the difficulties Nina had in not only finding her daughter, but also establishing a genuine mother-daughter relationship. This will undoubtedly be shattered once the truth is out, and Willow removes Drew and Nina from her life. Still, Curtis has advised Nina to come forward several times, and he has his own concerns about his family disintegrating, so he may not care at this point. Returning to the GH peak as the video progresses, fans will see Curtis enter Willow's bridal suite, pre-wedding, and Willow will have a stunned expression on her face. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that Drew will finally get a taste of his own medicine in the coming days, as Curtis will most likely tell Willow about Drew/Nina's fling, which will sting given that he was pursuing her the entire time he was with her mother. The promo finishes with Scout Quartermain walking down the aisle, but Willow does not appear to be following her. Given Willow's delicate mental condition, this is not a good sign. General Hospital spoilers suggest that the week of July 21st to 25th could finally herald the end of Drew and all his lies, which sounds fantastic to most fans. But what kind of consequences will Nina face as a result of this secret being revealed? Viewers will have to tune in to find out. The General Hospital spoilers for the week of July 21st to 25th show that Dante Falconeri and Lulu Spencer will encounter some terror, while a devastated Michael Corinthos makes a confession. CARLY Spencer and Lucas Jones will also square off, so here's what fans should expect. At the Paris airport, Jason Morgan will attempt to negotiate his way onto Britt Westbourne's jet and determine whether she is truly Britt. Jason will want to speak with that woman, but he may be out of luck because he is not a ticketed passenger on that flight. However, Jason will demonstrate his commitment by booking another travel to Croatia and hoping to find Britt once there. Meanwhile, Laura Collins will receive updates on some troubling news, which may relate to Lucas' concerns about kidnapped Marco Rios. Jen Sidwell plans to make a major announcement. Will Sidwell try his best to placate Sonny Corinthos and secure Marco's release, or will he take a riskier approach? Over with Trina Robinson, she'll dig her heels into things. Despite Kai Taylor's efforts to mend their shattered relationship, Trina may be unwilling to work things out. Elsewhere, Dante and Lulu will unearth a distressing finding, which may reveal that Rocco Falconeri met with Liesl Albrecht and intends to meet with her again soon. Willow Tate's behavior will raise concerns as she prepares for her approaching wedding. Nina Reeves will corner Drew Kane and maybe push him to postpone the wedding, but he will not budge. While Willow and Scout Kane have a nice conversation before their wedding, Alexis Davis will meet with Drew for a rather candid conversation of her own. Drew and Willow's wedding will begin, according to GH teasers, but will it end? This appears to be an excellent opportunity for Willow to discover Drew slept with Nina behind her back, either through Nina's mid-ceremony confession or Curtis Ashford's secret spillage. While CARLY and Lucas argue over the Sonny situation, Michael will confide in Christina Corinthos Davis. That could provide Michael the opportunity to express how much he already misses Daisy Gilmore and Sasha Gilmore Corbin. Next, Ava Jerome will become shaken. Therefore, there may be a situation in which Cody Bell can come to her aid. Cody could help Christina's strategy move forward, but the lines are blurring as he sees another side of Ava. General Hospital spoilers indicate that the week of July 21st to 25th will offer some nasty challenges, so stay tuned. Laura Wright of General Hospital set aside time for reading, relaxing with her dog, and other leisure activities to attend a menopause collab event in Los Angeles this weekend. The collaboration panel event Heather Hirsch, MD, author of the upcoming book The Perimenopause Survival Guide, collaborated with Emboss, a Menopause Society licensed practitioner, certified nurse midwife, and advanced practice registered nurse. They were joined by Lindsay Miller, a mobility expert, choreographer, and fitness professional. They assembled a highly brilliant panel, including Anastasia Nealagaru, MD, a hormone and menopause expert. Laura Wright of GH also joined them. The At the Collaborative.Telem team provided crucial findings during the half-day event in Los Angeles on Saturday, July 19th. Schmidt invited guests to join us for an unforgettable half-day event, the Perimenopause and Menopause Experience, together. She added that attendees would enjoy discussions, a Q&A with Dr. Hirsch, photograph ops, giveaways, and more alongside leading clinicians from the collaborative Telemed. Laura Wright, who participated, posted about it on Instagram on Saturday night, saying, "Fan reactions though I learned so much crucial information from the panel of specialists and doctors." They also mentioned the real-life Carly Spencer, saying, "It was amazing to hear Laura's story and finding the appropriate treatment. Researching this topic is crucial for women to receive appropriate care. Thank you, Laura. I love it. Menopause can be challenging for women, so it's important to understand their alternatives. Awesome. I'm glad you had a great day." Laura Wright promotes menopause awareness. What is the difference between perimenopause and menopause? According to Health.com, perimenopause and menopause are two closely related stages in a person's life. Perimenopause is the transition period before menopause, which is when you stop having your period. You may have heard women complain about hot flushes, but additional symptoms may include sleep troubles. The perimenopausal period affects most women in their 40s and lasts about 2 years as a result of a decrease in estrogen levels. Menopause occurs after you have not menstruated for a year. Curtis had always taken pleasure in his ability to remain calm in the midst of a chaotic world. However, neutrality came at a cost, particularly in Port Charles, where secrets were valued and allegiance was frequently accompanied by blood ties. Curtis had spent the previous few weeks attempting to bridge the ever-widening gap between truth and discretion. When he overheard Nina arguing with Drew in the Crimson offices about a secret rendezvous that involved more than just drinks and confessions, he knew the line he'd managed to balance on was going to give way. It wasn't only that Nina cheated. It was the person she was cheating with. Drew had been the poster child for redemption since he returned from Pentonville. He discussed family, second chances, and establishing bridges. But behind the scenes he had crossed a threshold that may endanger numerous lives, including Willow's. Curtis had not intended to get involved, but the guilt of knowing, of hearing Drew's voice low and personal while Nina's was breathless and unsure, was like a stone in his stomach. He tried to tell himself that wasn't his business. Nina wasn't his wife. Drew wasn't his friend. Willow, well, he owed her nothing in theory. However, he was all too aware of the consequences of lying. Curtis had witnessed Portia lie to Trina about her paternity. He had witnessed how a single buried truth could destroy trust, family, and even identity. Perhaps that's why this specific secret bothered him. Willow had recently fought for her life. She'd been to the edge and back again with cancer, relying on Drew and Nina more than most. If there was ever a lady who deserved to be honest, she was it. Curtis had not come to Willow with the goal of shattering her world. He persuaded himself he only wanted to talk to clean his conscience. Perhaps she already knew. Maybe Nina and Drew had an emotional slip that they regretted. But as he sat across from Willow at the Metro Court restaurant, seeing her delicately hold Amelia in one arm and mix tea with the other, the words seemed heavier than he had anticipated. She greeted him warmly, her grin fatigued but sincere. "You look like a man with something on his mind," she told me. Curtis paused, his throat suddenly dry. Willow laughed lightly. I don't even know where to start. Begin where it hurts the most. That's what my therapist says. He looked at her, saw the honesty in her eyes, the tranquility that comes with having survived the worst. And he realized that he couldn't lie by omission anymore. This is about Nina. And Drew, he said softly. Willow's expression remained unchanged at first. She placed down her cup, moved Amelia slightly and waited. Curtis continued. I didn't intend to find out. I was not looking for it. But I had overheard something at Crimson. Nina and Drew were arguing. It wasn't simply work-related. This was personal, intimate. Her smile faltered. I don't want to be the person to bring you bad news, Curtis told me. But I believe you deserve to know the truth. They have been romantically involved. I don't know how long. I only know what I heard. Willow blinked slowly, as if his words were attempting to land but not yet finding traction. She averted her sight, focusing on a vase of flowers at the table's edge. Curtis did not rush her. The weight of quiet hung between them, thick and strained. I trusted them, she finally admitted, barely above a whisper. Both of them. Curtis nodded. I know. Are you sure? She inquired, still not meeting his gaze. You are absolutely certain it wasn't anything else? I'm not proud of it, but I am certain. Willow took a long pause before placing Amelia in her carrier. Her hands shook slightly, and she rose up, taking a few steps away from the table, as if physical distance could help her sort through the swirl of emotions that were now flooding in. Curtis remained sat, unsure whether to proceed or leave. Willow turned back. You didn't have to tell me, she said. Most people wouldn't have. I couldn't let you keep living in a lie, Curtis told him. You've been through too much for that. The treachery struck her in waves. First there was shock, then rage, and then a hollow grief she wasn't expecting. She had relied greatly on Drew after her transplant. He'd been there during the early stages of recuperation, while Nina remained in the background, attempting to make atonement for years of concealment and sorrow. It was ironic. The two individuals she had begun to trust had found comfort in each other, in secret. While she fought cancer and clung to life, they discovered a pocket of selfishness that mocked her suffering. Willow did not confront Nina right away. She didn't barge into Drew's office hurling allegations. She sat with it, thought about it. She observed Nina's smile as Drew entered the room. She noticed Drew's uneasy glances while Nina talked. All of the signs had been there. She'd merely decided not to notice them. The following few days were torturous. Willow waited to inform Michael because she was terrified of what he may do. He was afraid of reigniting the feud between him and Drew, which had just recently come to a grudging ceasefire. Instead, she faced Nina alone. She discovered Nina lighting a candle for Silas in the chapel at General Hospital, which was ironic. Willow stepped in softly, her pulse thumping, and sat in the pew next to her biological mother. The silence was heavy, but Nina sensed a shift. Are you okay? Nina asked quietly. Willow stared at the candle. I know about you and Drew. Nina turned slowly, her gaze shifting between surprise and horror. I didn't mean to, Willow added. Curtis told me. He overheard you too. Nina split her lips, looking for something, denial, explanation, or anything. I trusted you, Willow stated, her voice shaking. I allowed you in. Finally, I gave you a chance. And you slept with the one person who vowed never to hurt me. It wasn't like that, Nina responded through sobs. It was not intended. It was one night. We were both. Don't, Willow interrupted. Don't use your emotions as an excuse. You don't get to cry. Nina's tears flowed over, but she said nothing else. She understood she had no defense. And as Willow stood and walked out of the chapel, Nina realized that guilt and grand gestures would not be enough to buy forgiveness this time. Meanwhile, Drew had no idea the news had dropped. He continued on as usual till Willow arrived at his workplace. Her mere presence raised suspicions. She had scarcely spoken to him outside of family events in recent times. He could tell by the look in her eyes that she knew. You lied to me, she stated. You said you respected me, that you cared about my family. Yes, he said, rising to his feet. So why would you sleep with Nina? The room became frigid. Drew opened his mouth and nothing came out. There was no solution that would undo what he had done. I needed you, she explained, her voice breaking. I leaned on you. I told you. I didn't plan this, Willow. Just happened. We were both going through something. It was a mistake. No, Willow replied firmly. Mistake is one thing. What you did was your choice. You selected her. And now I have to decide whether to let you stay anywhere near my children again. Drew paled. Don't say that. Why not? She stated. You risked everything for a lady who has lied to me more than I can count. Maybe you deserve each other. Willow walked out of his office without looking back. Drew did not try to stop her. He stood alone, surrounded by spreadsheets and quiet, recognizing too late the cost of his actions. Curtis, for his part, saw no glory in the truth. He did not disseminate rumors or take sides. He told the truth and stepped aside. However, what he had done caused a ripple effect that would reverberate throughout Port Charles. Trust was broken. Lines had been crossed. And the consequences had only just begun. Michael discovered out later. When he did, there was no place for diplomacy. His rage boiled out, directed at both Drew and Nina. He had defended Drew for months, backed his business efforts, and supported him in court. Everything now felt like a betrayal heaped on top of another betrayal. Willow attempted to keep herself together for Wiley and Amelia, but the anguish persisted. She no longer regarded Nina in the same way. And the link she had begun to develop with Drew, one based on trust, mutual respect, and survival, was gone. In Port Charles, betrayal was never about the deed itself. It was about the ripple and the unraveling. One moment of weakness revealed the true fragility of their relationships. Willow, who had rebuilt her life from the ashes, viewed this betrayal as a new fire she had never requested to survive. Dante never expected that his reunion with Lulu would be in the shape of a nightmare. After so many years of aching rebuilding and hoping the route back to each other was finally clear, or so he thought. But in just a few hours everything changed. Lulu's eyes, once overflowing with adoration and tenderness, were now clouded with terror. Dante's shaking voice was hardly audible as she related what had happened, what she had witnessed. Something inside her had changed, and he couldn't find his place in her life anymore. The horror was not only the incident itself, but the understanding that Lulu was broken in ways he couldn't repair. Lulu had always been resilient, from dealing with the Cassadines to raising Charlotte among Valentine's disarray. But this time the trauma was deeper. She was not just terrified, she was haunted. Her memories were fragmented. She had fragmented memories of a dark chamber, cold metal, and someone muttering threats in her ear. She couldn't recall where she had been taken or how long she had been gone. Worse, she couldn't recall whether she'd been followed back to Port Charles. Dante's protective instincts kicked in, but he still felt powerless. Whatever Lulu had escaped from still clung to her, and there was nothing he could do to remove it. He carried her home to the loft, attempting to surround her with familiarity and comfort, but her thoughts were elsewhere. She awoke suddenly at night, gasping for oxygen. She refused to speak to anyone but Laura, and even then, her words were distant. Dante looked helplessly as the lady he loved drew further away. The horror in Lulu's eyes reflected his own. He was scared not just of what had happened to her, but also that they would never recover. Meanwhile, across town, a completely other type of fire erupted. Carly and Lucas's relationship had always been difficult. They'd fought before, forgiven each other, and rallied around family when necessary. But suddenly they were on opposing sides of an issue too large for easy reconciliation. It began with a secret that Carly had kept from Lucas, and once revealed, there was no turning back. Lucas felt betrayed. He had always tried to give Carly the benefit of the doubt, but this time she had gone overboard. The judgments she took behind his back were motivated by more than simply pride or power. They were about Wiley. Lucas believed Carly had crossed a boundary that she could never undo, and he was unable to let it go simply because she was his sister. She had jeopardized everything: trust, family, and the delicate stability Wiley so desperately needed. Carly, for her part, refused to back down. She defended her decisions with the same strong commitment that had made her such a powerful force in Port Charles. She believed she had done the right thing, even though it was messy and Lucas despised her for it. But she didn't anticipate how severely devastated he was. The treachery was more than simply what she did. It was also about how little she trusted him. Carly's customary charm and resistance weren't effective here. Lucas saw through it and was not interested in hearing another explanation. He sought accountability. Their encounter at Bobby's was a full-fledged eruption. Lucas raged, his voice shaking as he accused Carly of using Wiley as a pawn. Carly accused Lucas of being naive and misunderstanding the situation. But when they talked, they realized they weren't actually arguing about Wiley, but about years of unsaid hatred. Carly was constantly presuming she knew best. Lucas was constantly attempting to prove himself worthy in a family where he often felt disregarded. Bobby attempted to intercede, but there was no stopping it. Carly and Lucas were beyond reason. Years of stress burst forth in the heat of the moment. Things were stated that could not be forgotten. Lucas stormed out, slamming the door behind him, as Carly stood still, unsure whether she had won the fight or lost her brother forever. Back in the loft, Lulu had locked herself in the bathroom. Dante sat outside the door, his head resting against it, his voice calm yet frantic. He spoke to her, expecting she'd respond, but she remained mute. She looked into the mirror, barely recognizing her own face. Her hands trembled as she grasped the edge of the sink, breathing irregularly. She should have felt safe now, but she didn't. The silence outside the door reminded her of the silence she had endured while in captivity. Dante's presence was insufficient. Nothing was enough. Finally, Lulu opened the door. She didn't say anything, simply dropped into his arms, her body trembling. Dante grabbed her tightly and refused to let go. He didn't know the answers. He didn't know how to improve matters. But he was there, and that may have been all he could offer for the time being. Michael had learned of Carly and Lucas's fight at the Quartermain house. He was stuck in the middle again. Michael felt the strain on his shoulders as he struggled to assist his mother while also safeguarding Wiley. He knew Carly meant well, but Lucas had every right to be outraged. Their family's cracks were widening, and Michael was concerned that Wiley would suffer the most once more. Willow sought to console him, asking him to communicate to both sides and be the bridge that could save them from falling apart. But Michael was fatigued. The duty of mediator was taking its toll. He wished someone else could step in and see what was best. But no one in Port Charles ever had the opportunity to stand on the sidelines. The Corinthos and Spencer families were being tugged in every direction. Grief, trauma, and old wounds reappeared as new confrontations erupted. Lulu's fear, Carly's staunch defense, and Lucas' wounded pride all combined to create a hurricane that threatened to take them whole. Even amid the worst moments, there were glimmers of hope. Dante never gave up trying. He continued to show up for Lulu, whether she was prepared or not. Despite everything, Carly examined her reflection in the mirror and questioned her decisions. Lucas, storming along the street, still had images of Wiley in his wallet. These were not individuals who gave up. They fought. They fractured. They broke. But they always attempted to reconstruct. And in Port Charles, that effort, however messy, was what defined them as a family.